Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So I want to continue where I left off last night, and hopefully for Dhamma's sake, especially a little briefer tonight. So I've spoken yesterday and the night before about the nature of mudita, what it is and what it isn't, and how it is opposed by near enemies and far enemies. The near enemy of joyful exuberance, the far enemy of dosa, of ill will. And how, when the practice succeeds, the indication of the success of the practice is the subsidence of dosa. I spoke about this night. And of course, when dosa subsides, the manifestation of or the function of mudita is expressed, that meaning that envy also subsides. And I spoke at the end yesterday of personality types and how that relates to the 4 different kinds of Brahma-vihara practices. And I want to dig a little more into this because I want to speak around that connection between dosa, ill will, and envy, jealousy, and ego, which I spoke about the night before last. Just very briefly, I talked about ego, how it kind of drove the whole train. And I want to dig into this in a particular, rather technical way in terms of Buddhist psychology. Because it's very easy to stay on the kind of psychological level with this, thinking about our personality types, thinking about the ego as a psychological phenomena. And while it's true that a developed mudita practice undercuts these psychological phenomena, it actually goes a whole lot deeper. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit. Dosa as a habit, dosa as a personality type, and the manifestations of the ego are kind of the froth on top of something that's actually producing that froth. It's actually much, much, much more important to understand. When the Buddha talked about wholesome and unwholesome states, particularly unwholesome states, he was very clear about what they arose from, what caused them to arise. And dosa is one of the 3 main unwholesome roots. Dosa, ill will, lobha, greed, moha, just zoning out. And if you consider these unwholesome states like weedy plants, you can't just cut them off. They have roots, and you have to dig out the roots. And mostly we tend to deal with the roots of unwholesome states, of course, with vipassana, with cultivating insight. So we forget, or maybe we're not so aware of the power of all of the Brahma-vihara practices in actually helping to dig out these roots, both of them particularly. So I tend to think of the Brahma-vihara practices as one of the shovels that we can use to dig these roots out. And in the texts, the Buddha speaks of three main sources, another kind of root of all unwholesome mind states. And these three are behind any form of lopa, dosa, moha. The first of these is wrong view, ditthi. So ditthi, particularly that in the context of the Brahma Viharas, particularly any form of view of I, me, or mine. And we live in this conventional world, in these conventional bodies that seem solid, that seem continuous. It seems like they belong to us. And they're animated by minds that we think also belong to us. It doesn't take very long with any kind of meditation practice to really see very, very direct that we can't control the mind. We certainly know we can't control the body. Not where it really matters. There can be a thought that arises, okay, I'm going to stand up and go outside and walk, and the body behaves and follows that thought. And that seems like control. But if I have the thought, I'm not going to get sick ever in the rest of my life. Yeah, right. There's no control over the basic functions of our body. And how much energy it takes to train the mind and to tame the mind. The mind is like a wild animal. It is also not ours to control. So we can't control it. If we owned it, if it was ours, it would be within our control, but we can't. It's also changing the mind and body. These are also changing so fast. And you see this in the practice. So a couple of people in the recording today and yesterday have really given wonderful descriptions of how crazy the mind can be. One moment, it's just really deeply concentrated and easily connecting with the mudita. The next day, forget it. There's total distraction. There's total resistance. Doesn't want to do it at all. So we see in the practice how the mind and body are constantly changing. We see in the practice how we can't control them. And yet that view in the background that somehow this is me, this is I, this is mine, is very persistent in spite of that. And then there's the view of this externally. That Lamborghini is mine. This house is mine. This money is mine. This passport is mine. These clothes are mine. This room is mine. Whatever. So as relating to inanimate objects, as relating to other people, that person is my husband or my wife or my friend or my mother, my father, my sister. When that view is deeply rooted, of course, it's a deep cause of suffering in relationship. You're my husband. You're supposed to treat me a certain way. You're my child. You have certain responsibilities towards me. This can go beyond the simple and rather important conventional cultural roles we play. And I think each of you can think right off the top of your head of examples from your own life involving either you or somebody in your close circle of friends and family, of people who really relate to other people as though they are owned. So, wrong view, this sense of I, me, mine. The second root of any unwholesome mind state is something in Pali language is called mana, which means the technical term is conceit, and it's threefold. So these three aspects of mana are really important to understand. We use the word in English, conceit, to cover all of them. Conceit, not in the sense it's used conventionally in English as pride, but any form of comparing of this I, this solid I that we hold with wrong view, as compared to others. So there are three kinds: better than, worse than, equal to. So these three forms of conceit take that wrong view of a self and then externalize that in relationship to others. And then there's tanha in Pali, which the root meaning of this is thirst, where we hold on to things, we grasp things and beings and aspects of ourselves, holding them tightly. I think of this as the golem mind. Precious. Mine, it's precious. So this, like Jiti, can apply to objects or it can apply to people. We can experience this as relating to our inner experience or externally. So it's mine, you can't have it. So these three roots of all the kilesa, all unwholesome states, it's really important to understand how powerful and deeply rooted they are. And while in Vipassana practice, we uproot them by clear seeing, something much more subtle happens in Brahma-vihara practices. And the Buddha hints at this by the line near the end of the Metta Sutta, where he says, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one is not born again into a womb. And holding on to the fixed view of I, me, and mine, comparing ourselves to others, what we have and what we want, and then clinging to that, that's what we don't hang on to. That's what the book is referring to there. So it doesn't take much to see how this applies and how it appears again and again and again, how these three things show themselves over and over and over again in the Mudita practice. So I said yesterday that the manifestation of Mudita is that, or the function of Mudita is not being envious. Look at envy and jealousy as a simple phenomenon. It's full of wrong view. That's mine. Or jealousy is a particularly good one. That's mine, but you have it. And I'm, I have more status than you, and you have no business having that. And then there's that really nasty marriage of craving and resentment that comes with those experiences, which is, Jiti, Mana, Tanha, all together producing jealousy. Or perhaps it's envy. That whatever it is that we want that somebody else has. Maybe it's that business class seat as opposed to our cattle class back in the back of the plane seat. So we sit there and we feel, oh, this is so degrading. I'm equal to those people up there. And how come I don't have that seat? I deserve that. Diti, that's my seat, or I want that seat. I'm equal to that person up there, Mana, and then the craving for what that other person has. So when we pick up the Mudita practice as a relational practice, it puts a mirror right up in front of our face. And it shows us category by category by category what kilesa we are manifesting as relates to that particular category of person. And those kilesa may manifest as irritation, ill will, as resentment, as envy, as jealousy, but deeper, over and over and over again, Diti, mana, tanha, the view of a self, that sense of whether we're better than somebody or less than somebody or equal to somebody. And the uncontrollable desire and the habitual desire for people and beings to be a certain way. If you look at the Brahma-vihara practices in this way, and if you look at Mudita practice in this way, you see its power. And it's not the power of seeing clearly. It's not the power that Vipassana has to permanently uproot tendencies. But it's the power to expose all of this stuff. It's really quite amazing. And then to give us the training and the skill and the habit to go in another direction. And this works in relationship. It works in our daily life. Because these Brahma-vihara practices and Mudita practice, it's relational. It's about other people and other beings. And so we train the mind, we purify the mind. And a huge part of this purification is that exposure of ditthi, mana, tanha. And once these are exposed, they no longer have the power over us they once did. They're not driving the train in secret. I had a long Dhamma conversation with somebody this morning who's doing a long solitary retreat. And it did not go as she expected because she hurt herself at the very beginning of the retreat. And so there was no solitude, there was no silence. So, oh boy, did she get a different retreat than she thought. Forget about solitude, forget about silence. And she said it has been so difficult and so interesting because it's exposed things she would not have seen had she had a normal retreat. So when we take these states, the ditthi, mana, tanha, and all the way they come together and manifest in our behavior and in our mind and body, mind particularly. When we take those manifestations, what flowers out of ditthi, mana, and tanha, all the unwholesome states, not as problems, but as the very place of practice. Oh my. The Mudita practice is very, very powerful because there's so many ways, Mudita in particular, there's so many ways that it can get under all of that and kind of lift it up so that we can work in there. All the craving, all the view of ourselves and others, all the comparison. Oh my goodness, comparison. I have that, you have that. I want what you have, comparing ourselves endlessly. This is the mirror of the Mudita practice really shines a light, particularly on mana, on comparison and craving. And of course, all of the far enemy of Mudita dosa that comes out of those things. When life doesn't behave as we want it to. And other people don't behave as we want them to, and we don't behave as we want to. It's just like so much dosa can come up. So the way this purification happens isn't linear. You probably all know by now. We were talking in the small group today about the Mudita roller coaster. So we experience quite powerful Mudita and everything feels balanced and, all of the ditthi, mana, tanha, it's far away. And everything, we think, oh, wow, this feels great. And it's so freeing, when we can really just drop into this gladness on account of other people's success. Watch out, buckle up. Because that's when the roller coaster begins to descend. And what's happening here is when we experience this Brahma Vihara in its pure state, it's a very pure state of mind. It is what allows us to see more and more and more clearly the other things that maybe we hadn't seen before that are there, that the mirror is presenting us. So the more we can access the purity of mudita, the more we see envy, jealousy, craving, clinging, dosa, all that diti, mana, tanhas. We can see it more clearly. And then the practice is mirroring that to us, and we work with it, we purify it, roller coaster goes up again. Up and down and up and down. So it's these habits of ego that, get in there. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not sure I like that. Bam, the mind shuts, the heart shuts. And all the dosa that comes from that, ego and dosa, all these kind of frothy manifestations of diti, mana, tanha. Those habits fight back. It's just what they're there to do. So that's what we have to work with. And this is all so natural. This cycling from wholesome to unwholesome, from wholesome to unwholesome. It's not a failure. A couple of things that are important to understand when you're in the midst of this process. First, taking it too seriously is suffering. The practice, like anything else, does not belong to us. We cannot control it. We can direct it, we can do a lot, but we basically can't control it. Don't obsess about this up and down and up and down. Don't worry about it. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to change it. Certainly don't try to figure it out. And abide in the simplicity of the practice. Cultivate the wholesome, refrain from the unwholesome, purify the mind. That was the Buddha's basic instruction to us. So just keep inclining to mudita, no matter what, no matter what. And learn to laugh, learn to hold it lightly. So that when that Lamborghini moment comes, we see it and go, oh, that's what that is. You kind of go, hello, no, not today. Humor is such a wonderful ally of acceptance. When we can hold it lightly, it's much easier to accept these states are here in the first place. So that acceptance is the basic soul of all the Brahma Viharas. It's really embedded in each one of them. And don't be in a hurry to change it. The mind has its own schedule. These kilesa have their own trajectory of arising and passing away. Ours to control. So don't try to force them to go away in a hurry, because that'll only feed them. Patience is such an important state to cultivate. And I don't like saying this because I know how it's received. Oh, patience, oh, great, thanks. I've thought that myself, but it really is a jewel. And understanding that these states are not permanent, the difficult states. So when we're in the bottom of that roller coaster and things are really, really rough, those states won't last forever. Patience really helps us to rest there. It's like, okay, these things have their own schedule. I don't want to get involved with them. I don't want to fix them. I don't want to force them to be other than they are. May I be at ease with this. Inclining to metta, inclining to mudita. When we stop struggling against the way things are, suddenly the practice is so much easier. So there's humorous acceptance, there's patience, and then the faith, the confidence about the process in general, we can trust that. We can trust, we have faith and confidence in the process. Take the time we want it to take, but it's going in the right direction. So directly working with all these states in the Mudita practice means accepting that they're there, not getting involved, putting them aside and cultivating something else instead. It's very, very simple. What makes that possible and much more easy is that basic attitude of acceptance and the patient, persistent building of a new habit, building of new states of mind. Planting wholesome seeds and watering them with simple continuity. And those seeds will grow. You can trust that. Even if it means you have to keep weeding. That's part of the job of the practice. It's just we keep purifying the mind over and over and over again. And in the moment, we might not know anything is happening. We might not see anything different. But I guarantee if you keep allowing the Mudita practice to mirror what is actually there, and you work with them with that patience, that acceptance, and you keep inclining to Mudita, there are surprises that come in daily life when we respond totally different than we expect. And it doesn't actually take a lot of practice for that to happen. So the basic Burmese instruction you get from any of the sayadaws when the practice is just going on is they say, please continue. And that's the basic instruction. How do I work with these kilesa? Please continue. This horrible state is coming up. What do I do? Please continue. Full of doubt and restlessness. What do I do? Please continue. I'm full of doubt and I don't think the practice works. What do I do? Please continue. It's a basic instruction and it's actually very, very useful. Just keep going. So I'm going to close with that, with the really heartfelt well-wishing that when your practice gets bumpy, you find the humor and the patience and the acceptance, and that instruction falls right into your lap and you go, oh yeah, please continue. And may all the Mudita seeds that you are planting grow very quickly into enormous Mudita trees. Thank you for your kind attention, everybody, and thank you for your